Hello everyone, this is the MS-DOS project, and today we'll be talking about / reviewing Clash of Steel, a World War II strategy game released in 1993 by Strategic Simulations. Strategic Simulations Incorporated was founded in 1979 by Joel Billings, who was a war games enthusiast. Their first title was Computer Bismarck in 1980, and they focused on exclusively strategy games for many years before expanding their libraries and productions to include producing official Dungeons & Dragons video games, which were well acclaimed. By 1993, SSI was known especially for their war games, so Clash of Steel was right up their alley. Unfortunately, the game launched with several minor bugs, so they later released the 1995 Clash of Steel 2, the Future Edition, which is really just a bug-fixed version of the game. As such, I'll be using this version throughout. This version was also offered at a reduced price to owners of the original game. The game was hailed by critics and fans alike at launch, but all I'd like to know is it worth playing today? The setting of the game and premise is very simple and guaranteed to draw people in. The European theater of World War II. You can play as either the Allies, the Axis, or Russia, and start from one of 6 dates, from the start of war until D-Day. If you always thought the Nazis could have won if they had done something or other, or that you could win as the Allies in 1939, this is where you can prove your mettle. The game starts off with a cool title screen song. But for me at least, that's all the sound in the game. Every time I try to launch it past that, it says the sound device is undetected, or I haven't been able to get it configured properly. As far as I know, there's no music in the game, just explosions and movement sounds, but a shame nonetheless. I'm sure I just can't figure out how to configure DOSBox or something. In the menu itself, there's a lot going on, and this is where we start to run into the main issue of trying to play this game today, or at all really. The game cannot be played without the manual. It just can't be done. Even besides the fact that there are copy protection questions mid-game, there are just many things that are either obtuse or only explained in the manual, especially in the menus. This really starts to rear its head here with the rules option on the main menu. Basically all of the options here handicap one side or the other, but you don't really understand how it works unless you've read the manual. This will continue to be an issue, so really it would be best to read the whole manual from front to back before you start playing and keep it handy throughout. It is over 60 pages long, but it really is worth it to people to know what is going on and how to play the game. I'll link the manual down in the description. Anyways, you can play this game 2-player hot seat if you wish. Russia and the Allies move in the same turn and use a lot of the same resources, so you can't technically have them controlled separately. I only ever played it by myself, but I'm sure it would be tons of fun to play versus somebody else. Once you've decided how easy or how hard you want the game to be, you can get into the game itself. Each little square represents a unit, with the number on the left representing number unit strength, and the one on the right shows how many moves are left in the impulse. Those number of moves can be used from anything to attack to movements on the board. Basically, every turn has a random number of impulses, which are like turns within the turn, I guess. Sides alternate impulses until the turn ends, with some actions such as putting troops into reserve that can only be performed in the first or second impulse of a turn. Sometime in the first impulse, the copy protection will trigger, but for some reason the actual answers don't seem to match up with what they're looking for in the manual itself. Luckily online there's a list of answers which worked for me, which I can copy in the description. Once you play around with the game for a while, it becomes mostly straightforward. There are a lot of things I think they did really right here that I still don't see in a lot of games. First of all is an oops button that cancels movements but not attacks, that you might have done on accident. Also, there's this really awesome history map mode that shows the history of the whole save down to individual movements of units. It doesn't quite show territory owned and all that stuff from moment to moment, but you get the idea. And I think it's really cool they could do this in 1993. The game actually has a lot of depth to it, between researching and political maneuvering and weather-based effects, which is really cool. Sometimes, however, it's really hard to figure out simple things like boarding troops onto transports. There's so many things I don't really understand or that just aren't obvious in the game. The first example of this is trying to figure out which type of unit is which. I mean, the tank divisions and air forces are easy enough, but what is the difference between all these different infantry type units? What are their stats and how can I use them in battle? I had to consult the manual for the names of these just to find out which was which and what its stats were. Really should have just been a pop-up box or something. Another thing is this darn politics map mode. I kinda get the idea here, but I rarely if ever have my attempts succeed. I know it has something to do with how many political points you have, what the break value of a different country is, but I just really wish I could see what chance I had of succeeding and how that would affect me and if they could declare war on my enemies. The other thing that I still don't really understand is how to use navies. I'm sure I just need to reread the manual, but sometimes it just doesn't let me move navies for some reason, and I don't know what it takes to actually do a naval attack. I just wish sometimes things were a lot more clear. These really were minor gripes for me, even though it seems like I complain a lot about them. And mostly I think they had to do with technical limitations at the time. Honestly, it plays more like a board game than anything else. It seems to be one of those games you have to figure out through failure. Overall, I do really enjoy Clash of Steel. It obviously won't muster up to a lot of newer games, but it is still tons of fun. Is it still worth playing today? I mean, that depends on what you're looking for. To me, it usually felt a lot more like a beefed board game than a computer game. Die rolls and all shown on the screen. But I guess that's par for the course of strategy games of the age. And it has some cool features to it that go beyond the surface level. You get lots of play out of it, you just need to be willing to study the manual like crazy. I love some of these infographics, like the history mode and the ability to see pie charts of all your losses, plus the simulation has some specific rules that are historically accurate, such as the division of Poland and a blitzkrieg bonus attacking France if the weather isn't clear. My complaints will always come back to that there's not enough in-game feedback, but I'm sure as I play more I'll better understand how the different icons work, what they mean, and how to be successful. Most of the critics in the day agreed it was one of the best computer strategy games up to that point, and I can see why. It's definitely still worth playing today, just expect a learning curve like any other strategy game. If you're really struggling, I highly suggest using the balancing option found in the main menu to favor you more. Or you could have it favor the computer more if you'd really like a challenge. If you're into strategy games, so definitely check this one out. Anyways, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching and hope you all have a great rest of your day.